Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
The rush to get tested. Long lines all over town as worries over COVID just are not going away.
And more snow. The local forecasters are tracking multiple snow chances as we make our way through the last week of 2021.
But we're going to start here in Troy, where police say twin brothers have been killed in an apparent murder-suicide. Thanks for joining us at 5, everyone. The twins' father was also shot in this and was taken to the hospital.
It all started early this morning at a home on Lark Drive, right in the area of Wattles and Coolidge. Nick Monticelli is live in Troy tonight with new information, and there were multiple calls to 911. Nick.
Yeah, Priya, good evening. There were multiple calls. The first one came from the 62-year-old father living inside of this home behind me, calling, saying his son had shot him. The second phone call came from a neighbor just a block over, saying that there was a car crash in front of their home. That car turned out to be the other twin who had shot and killed himself before the vehicle crashed.
They heard the gunshots.
The neighbors on Lark Drive in Troy were up all night. This happened just before 12:30 this morning. The twins were in the basement when one shot the other.
The father heard the shots and came out of his room, was confronted by the other son, and was shot twice.
The father called 911 saying his son shot him, while that son put the family dog in the SUV, shot it, and then shot himself while driving a block away. Making matters worse, the wife and mother of the twins was also home. She was not hurt.
Oh my God, half the whole family's almost gone. I mean, I don't know why they got in a fight. We never heard of the boys fighting and anything like that.
Friends and neighbors are having a hard time understanding why.
How do you take a life? I just, and certainly the Oxford one too. I mean, just how do you snuff out somebody?
Investigators can't figure out the why either. They say there's no history of fighting or mental illness, and the only two who really know what happened are gone.
We really don't have, there's no answer to why on this one yet. I don't know that we will ever know a motive on this.
And that honestly is probably one of the most challenging parts of the story, is that really nobody understands the why. And again, we may never understand the why. Priya, the only silver lining in any of this is that even though the father, 62 years old, was shot twice, he is expected to survive.
Oh, and your heart goes out to the parents. So, Nick, what's next in the investigation?
Well, honestly, there's not a whole lot left. They're kind of calling this a case closed situation. They did find the gun that was used inside of that SUV. And again, without understanding what the motive could be, they'll dig into it. They'll try to look to see if there were any past arguments or a history of some situations. But again, no history of mental illness, no history of any kind of domestic disputes or other fights. So this might be a situation where it's just over. And again, we will never know.
All right. Thank you, Nick. And we woke up to snow this morning, really making for a tricky commute.
Yeah, but it's warming up a little bit. It's weird to put your finger on anything with what's going on with the forecast over the last few days. Paul's keeping an eye on all of it for us, though. Hey, Paul.
Yeah, and the big story right now is actually the fog. Many of us are under a mile visibility. In fact, Pontiac is at 1/8 of a mile. So a lot of dense fog across the area, but I think it's a temporary thing. It will be diminishing as we move through the evening hours. And the reason is we have this warm, moist air over the cold snowpack. Here in 4-zone weather, we have 40 in Detroit, we have 40 Grosse Ile, 40 in Taylor, 4 Celsius in Windsor and Harrow. That's 39 Fahrenheit, by the way. But 37 Livonia, 37 in Canton, 36 in West Bloomfield. In our south zone, 39 in Monroe, 38 in Dundee. And we have mid-30s there over at Saline. In our west zone, it's generally mid-30s here. Whitmore Lake up to Milford, Howell, Flint, you're all in the mid-30s there. And our north zone, just a degree or two cooler. So really no great shakes temperature-wise across the area. So Lapeer over to Emmett, up to Melvin, Sandusky, Deckerville. We're all basically the mid-30 area. And the temperatures with this warm, moist air and the fog and the clouds, we're going to see only a slow slide in temperatures this evening. Still could see some patchy drizzle around, but again, that should be ending during the evening hours. So storm number 1 came through this morning. Storm number 2 is tomorrow. We'll talk about that in just a few, guys.
All right, Paul, sounds good. Now to the coronavirus and the 5-day total from the Christmas holiday. The state is reporting 32,957 new cases over those 5 days, which averages out to about 6,500 per day. which is right in line with where the numbers were last week. 274 more Michiganders have died from the virus.
Now take a look at the 7-day moving average to help get a sense of the trend. This is the past 3 Mondays, and you can see the average shooting back up after trending down just last week.
We also have breaking coronavirus news coming into the newsroom. U.S. health officials have just cut isolation recommendations in half for people who catch the virus. The CDC just issued this new guidance recommending people isolate for 5 days instead of 10. After 5 days, if you have no symptoms, they say you can return to normal activities, but must wear a mask. The CDC says this is keeping with the growing evidence that people with the virus are most infectious in the 2 days before and 3 days after symptoms develop. The decision was driven by the Omicron variant and an increase of cases that are crippling many industries. The guidance, by the way, not a mandate, but a recommendation.
And one key trend that we've seen over the holidays is people all across Metro Detroit getting tested.
In Macomb County, folks there waited in long lines like this to get tested at a site set up at Lakeside Mall. And that's not the only spot. Urgent cares often have people lined up out the door. Grant Herms is following the rush to get tested.
The post-Christmas testing crunch. Hundreds of Michiganders getting tested just days after holiday gatherings with family and friends. On store shelves, at-home rapid tests nearly entirely gone. People turning to urgent cares and ERs to get tested too, despite the urging of health officials not to crowd medical facilities. At sites across Metro Detroit, the wait to get tested lasting for hours. This family waiting to get their test so they can see family in Canada.
We got here just before 10 o'clock, so now it'll be less than half an hour.
And Kim Cook, who took a test at home but wanted to be sure.
I've been here 2 hours and 21 minutes. I'm symptomatic. I think I've got COVID. So, yeah, I'm here to be tested.
This is the line at Lakeside Mall up in Sterling Heights. Folks here say that they have been waiting for more than 3 hours at this point. As I turn around, you can see that this line snakes all the way through this parking lot. That way down over there, that is the testing center. Folks here, some symptomatic, say they're hoping that their Christmas celebrations aren't going to be prolonging this pandemic.
Folks like Danielle Atniff.
I went to the urgent care by my house, but you have to wait inside and the line was going outside. I'd rather be safe and wait in my car.
The race to get tested with Michiganders hoping they'll be safe rather than sorry.
And that was Grant Herms reporting. And if you are looking to get tested, the folks at clickondetroit.com have made it easy to find a place to get one. You can find the link right on our homepage. COVID continues to ravage holiday travel across the country as well.
Yeah, according to FlightAware, more than 2,000 flights have been canceled today. The cancellations come at the busiest time of year for travel. TSA reporting over 2 million travelers were screened last Thursday. United Airlines said the spike in Omicron cases had a direct impact on their flight crews. Delta says it's working to get all stranded travelers home as soon as possible. And right now at Metro Airport, 178 flights have been delayed today with 34 cancellations, but that number is sure to go higher as delays in other parts of the country begin to stack up.
It always seems to affect Detroit, doesn't it? And of course, it's coming at the height of the holiday travel period. Megan Woods is live at DTW tonight. Megan, how's it going?
I mean, 2 days after Christmas Day, like you said, people are still dealing with these delays and cancellations. While we've been here, we've seen people frantically walking in and out of this hotel, the West End. We've also seen people pacing back and forth on their phones, trying to figure out what's next. So we talked to one family who says their Delta flight to Memphis rebooked last minute due to a cancellation, but they weren't on the same flight. The airline split them up. And then one man told us he travels often for work, but this holiday weekend was hectic. On Christmas, he got delayed for a day while in New York.
I was a bit scared. I was I was not sure about how long I was going to be there. But then it was just 1 day, so it didn't matter much. Yeah, and it feels great to be back home, always.
again, a lot of people we've talked to were too frantic to stop and talk to us for an interview. They're trying to catch a flight or figure out what's next. And then some people we talked to, they're arriving here for their flight and they say, okay, well, we haven't seen those delays or cancellations yet. And they're crossing their fingers, hoping that it stays that way. Live at Detroit Metro Airport, I'm Megan Woods, Local 4.
Yeah, anybody who's ever flown standby knows what this feels like, but these are folks that actually bought a ticket and expect a flight. Yeah, well, hopefully everybody gets to where they're going. Megan, thanks.
Tonight, the Oakland County Prosecutor is responding to false threats on social media that suspected school shooter Ethan Crumbley has been found not competent to stand trial. In a post to Facebook, the prosecutor's office says, quote, the office of the Oakland County Prosecutor has become aware of posts on social media claiming the Oxford High School shooting suspect has been deemed incompetent to stand trial. This is absolutely untrue. Please refrain from sharing inaccurate information, end quote.